So let's model our first house. Let's have a look at these. Because I want to get a nice example, a nice and easy one. For example, this one seems very easy to do. It's just a kind of a rectangle, and then it has a nice, like very normal generic kind of roof, and just 5 windows and a door in the middle. So let's do this house first, and then we're going to see if we can something more fancy. So let's jump into Blender and have a look at our scene. I will add by, again, Shift A, or using the interface on the left side of the screen, I will add a cube, because a cube is a very nice starting point to model a house. Then I'm going to hit Tab. What Tab does is it jumps into edit mode. If you hit Tab again, it goes back into object mode. Essentially, object mode is for moving whole objects like a cube or a camera around, and edit mode is for, yes, editing them. So what we can do over here is we can select these faces, also the ones on the background. So that is a very handy thing. But you can also select edges. If you hit this small thing here, you can select only the edges of the cube, or if you go to this first thing, the first icon, you can select single vertices. That's how they are called. So, but I want to get back to face editing. I will use these 3 arrows here to move this a bit out. And this is essentially the main shape for our house. I will move the top one a bit up as well. Again, by using these nice arrows, they are very handy. Then I'm comparing with the image again. It's not that deep, so let's move this a bit. And there we go. Next thing I want to do is hit Ctrl R, and what Ctrl R does is it can add so-called loop cuts. Loop cuts are just, essentially cuts through our geometry or our mesh. That is what the object is made of. So I want to go over this edge so that it essentially slides on this thing. I will click here, left click, hit enter, and it should have added this loop cut for you. You can see the faces are separated now, and we have also vertices and edges here. So let's select this edge by hitting this icon again and right clicking the edge, and then we can move it up. And ta-da! We got a nice house. So let's have a look at the shape again. I think it's a bit too tall, so let's select these 2 faces. Oh, and selecting multiple faces, just hit Shift and then go on right clicking on the planes or vertices or whatever you want to select. So let's select those 2, move them a bit up, a bit more down maybe. Okay, this should work fine. Maybe make it a bit less long. Yes, that's perfect. Okay, so let's add a nice material to this. Go to the Material tab down here. That essentially lets you view the materials of your objects. And I went out of the editing mode, by the way, so I'm in object mode now. And go to this nice little icon over here, which is the Material tab. and we obviously want to create a new material. And this will be the color of our walls. So let's have a look at this. This is a bit yellowish with a brownish roof. So let's do that. You might see a different color picker over here. It is one of the adjustments I made, but just select the right color. That shouldn't be too hard to do for you. Or maybe a bit more yellowish. Colors are not very easy to do. Also, if you want to pick yellowish tones, go more to the orange kind of tab, because yellow essentially looks green very, very fast. So yeah, use orange. Okay, then we're going to add a second material on top of here. Yeah, create a new one and select kind of brownish colors. Brownish colors are always oranges or reddish tones, and then just the darker ones. Then go back into edit mode, select these two faces by again right clicking one of them and shift right clicking the other one. Go to material 1, so select this over here and hit assign. If you go out of edit mode again, you can see it assigned the material perfectly well. Next thing we're gonna do is I want to extrude this roof a bit so that it looks better. I have the roof already selected, the two faces, and then I will hit E and move my mouse a bit. You can see I will hit left click again if I'm fine with the shape. You can see that it moves it a bit out and adds a bit to the roof. You can now select all these faces by hand, but a faster way to do this is hit Alt and right click this edge. And what that does, that essentially selects the whole loop cut. We talked about loop cuts again, so it starts with this face and searches, well, what is the next face? This might be the next face, okay. Then it goes around, searches for all the faces, yeah, until it finds them all, and then you have a very fast selection of all these faces. Let's select the roof material again, hit assign, go out of edit mode, and you can see that it looks a lot nicer now. Another nice thing you can add, you can select two of these, extrude them as well. You have to make sure that, by the way, shift and scrolling moves your camera focus point up and down. Make sure you select these and also assign the material to it, and just do the same thing on the other side. Okay, very well done. So I'm in object mode again, and because I may want to use this as a template for further houses, I will hit Shift D to duplicate it. Hit right click if you don't want to move it, and then just move it using the arrow keys. Okay, so we have a nice backup. By the way, you should always save your Blender file. So I'm going to do that. I will hit File, Save As, then I will save this as a tutorial, and we are done. Okay, so what is missing for this house? This house still has windows and a door, so let's add those. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I will change the center point of this house, because moving this house, if I hit G stands for moving, like we did with the camera, it works fine, but if I want to rotate it, rotation is the key R. You can see that it rotates around that point on the side over there, and same thing for our template. To change that, we can go to Tools, set Origin to Geometry, and that should center the house a bit better. Okay, next thing we're going to do, we're going to create a small window. So hit Shift A and create a cube. Scale it a bit down using the S key. Give it a new material. I want to have a very darkish kind of material for this one. I don't want to add a frame for this because the image didn't use one as well, so I don't think it's really necessary. Scale it a bit in the Z dimension, so it S and then a Z. You can see that it works perfectly fine. You can also do that in edit mode by just moving this face up and down, but it's a different method. Does essentially the same. Move it back into the house, position it right, then again use Shift D to duplicate it, then use Shift to select the second one as well, duplicate these to the other side, and duplicate the top one to the center of the house. So, very nice. We're almost done. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate this window, and I want to make a door from this. So I'm going to scale it a bit up. Then I'm going to scale it a bit in the Y dimension. Move it a bit down so that it is essentially on the ground over here. Then move it a bit back in. I don't want this material for the door, so I'm gonna hit minus, which removes the material from it, and hit new material. And I'm going to add another brownish kind of color for this one. This should work fine. Okay. Since these are still separate objects, I can try to move the house now, but you can see it doesn't work for all the windows. So let's select these using Shift and right mouse button and select the house as the last object. Then I'm going to hit Ctrl J, and that essentially creates one mesh from it. So you can see in edit mode, now they are all in the same object. And if I move it in the object mode, you can see that it moves fine. I can rotate it like I want. And we have our first little house. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we will select our house again and name our materials, because that is very helpful if you want to create similar houses to this one. So let's name our yellowish material wall. The second one was our roof material. The third one was our door. The third one was a window. Okay. Then I'm going to move this a bit back, duplicate it, and move the duplicated version to the center. And what I'm going to do then is I will select our wall material, hit plus, our roof material, hit plus, and our door material, and hit plus. And what this does is it creates new materials that we can use to create a very similar but different colored house. So let's select the wall material first. And I will have a look at the color schemes we have here. We also have a white color scheme with a bluish roof and red doors. So let's do that. So let's get a white kind of material. I want to have a bit of gray in there so that it isn't completely white, but okay. Our roof will be a bluish kind of material, and our door will be red. You have to, just see which color fits best. This should do. Okay, and you can see we already created a second house from our first one. Let's move both of these a bit to the side and move our template back to the center, because we're going to model a bit more interesting house now. What I want to do first is I want to do these. So these very tall buildings, because they seem very essential for the scene. So that shouldn't be too hard. Just hit S to scale it and then hit Y so that you scale it in the Y dimension. And you should be able to do this. This should work. I will select these again and move them a bit out because they lost a bit of depth while moving or scaling the house. Okay. So, very nice. What I'm going to do then is I'm gonna go to our main house, hit tab, select a window and a door, hit Ctrl L to select all the connected faces I can show you from the side. The whole cubes are now selected if I hit Ctrl L. Then I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate them. I will move them a bit to the side, and then hit P to separate my selection. If I go into object mode again, I can see that I now have a different object that I can just move to our other house. So let's set the origin to geometry. Move this over to this house. Position it in the right spot. Then join these together by Ctrl J again, go into edit mode, Ctrl L to select the whole window, duplicate it again, and you can see we have a nice second house. But I want to add a chimney to these because they have a chimney in the original version. So let's add a cube in object mode, scale it a bit, select the top face in edit mode, extrude it, select the loop cut by Alt again, extrude it, and then scale it using Shift Z. That scales it in every dimension except the Z dimension, so we have a nice topping for the chimney. So let's move the face down there and scale it a bit down so that it has a nice size. Position it in the right spot. You might also position it right here. Just think about a good spot where to put it. Should work fine. Okay, and let's give it a material, and I will give it our wall material. Yes, or maybe not. I will give it a new material and a light grayish one. I will name it chimney. Okay, then I will join these together again, and we have our second house. I obviously want to also create the second version of this one. Now it's way easier to do that. Also we have to change the door color over here, so hit go to the door material over here and select our original door material. Over here, go to the wall material, go to this like sidebar icon, hit our new wall material and also change the roof to be the blue one. And we have our second house. Now let's see if we have a third one that is more interesting. Okay, maybe. Oh, also, I want to add these roof windows, right? Or do I? No. I guess that's too much. Well, I will go with these two for now. You can try to make more interesting ones if you want to. Just play a bit around with the controls, and then it should work. Okay,